Hi everyone, welcome back to another video for Eleanor's restoration. The last video I done the hinge plate or hinge panel and buxom plate, and as I said at the time, I was really pleased with the shut lines, the fit and everything. So moving on, now I'm down to my last old panel to come off, which is the bulkhead, old rusty panel anyway. Now this one's quite tricky because it's obviously supported by the jig and it lines up these inner arches. Now the inner arches I've got bolted on here and bolted on here. I've taken the doors off so I can get access to the inside, but you can't just fix these on then put this on because there's a fitment issue. This is bigger, so I need to work around keeping it all lined up and basically fitting the right parts in the right order. Also, having looked at the top dash rail, the flange along here is known for water coming in and rusting away, so rather than mess about, I think I'm just going to replace that as well for the price of it. And because ultimately it's going to have 3 layers being spot welded on, you've got the actual dash rail itself, the bulkhead, then the scuttle, and if you're spot welding quite a few times, if it's a thin rusty flange that's been ground down, it's just going to melt through. So yeah, I'm going to be getting one of them replaced as well. So I'm going to break it down slightly because there's quite a lot needs done. The first goal is to look at some of the bracing I'm going to need inside, or jig if you like, so I can line up the new panel to go exactly where the old panel is just now. There's a couple of holes for the steering rack and for the subframe mounting at the back, some at the top as well that I can use and just strengthen up. So I'm going to basically go over what I've got in place at the moment I can use and what I'm going to brace. I'm not going to go over exactly how I'm doing it, but I'll show you what bracing I've done and how I hope it'll help. So yeah, let's get cracking. So these are the holes here I'm going to be looking at using. I've obviously got some for the steering rack and some for the mounts. As I said, I've got a bar here already. I can mock up something that holds in these holes to line up exactly. I can mark on this floor where this current bulkhead comes to. And if I can move you up slightly, I've also got this brace bar here which I can use to support onto here because this runs through to the jig at the moment. So yeah, there's a few things in place that I can use to add on and build up, which is what I'm going to be doing first. I've still got some bolts in place here, mounts that I need to remove, which I'll do. Right, freed up some of these holes. Quite like to get into these, but this bar's in the way. So what I've decided to do, because I've got the platform underneath, I'm going to remove the front of the jig. So I just need to obviously remove all the bolts. This will rest on here and it'll take some of the strain off the centre of the car as well. Then I can look at getting some of the bits off the front, which I'll have better access to because the jig won't be there. Right. Time to get the front end of the jig removed so I can get access. and it's off, sitting on its platform. Gives me a lot more room to work. Anything that's in my way, is getting moved. What I'm going to go and do off camera, and also try and figure out how I'm doing it, is build this jig type thing for inside, so it gives me more places to line the new floor up to. I'm not going to cut anything out until I've done that, because I don't want anything moving that is lined up. And I'm not going to film it because it's cutting box section and welding on. I will go over it once I've done it, just to show you how I've done it, and it'll be different to how someone else or anyone else might do it. It just depends on what you've got to work with inside and what you're looking for support wise. So yeah, I'll come back in a while once I've done that. Right, I've been cutting and welding, but unfortunately my tip is well past its sell by date and I don't have any spares. And this always happens on a Sunday to me. Last week it was gas, this week it's welded tip, so I can't do any more at the moment until I get some of these. So I'm taking it as a sign. I'm going to call it a day there and get some supplies, and the next clip you see will be when I'm ready to go again. So here we are, about a week and a half after the last clip you've seen. I had nightmare issues with postage because of Easter weekend and delays in companies, COVID, all that stuff. But they arrived, so the welder's now up and running again. I've been busy cutting box section, welding, measuring, tacking. It's all what I'm happy with, reasonably happy. And the purpose of it is to give support and basically line up the new bulkhead, which I believe it will do. So now I can move on to the front end, which I will start in the next video. Before I do, to end this one, I'll just do a walk around with each bit to explain my thinking behind the jig and what I'm hoping to achieve with it. First part I focused on was down here at the toe board. Basically I've used the holes, the top hole for the mounting bracket to the subframe and the bottom hole for the steering rack. I've done that on both sides. I've put a bolt on, welded it on, and it's now a captive nut. So that basically I've got 4 bolts going through that line up the holes to the new toe board. Now that's important because it has to be lined up for the steering rack and for everything else that goes on it. So they're quite small holes, they're not big holes, and they have to be precise when the new one goes on to fit on there. I've welded that to a bar going across for support because when the toe board's out it needs something to hold on to. And that cross section is welded onto this and that over there, which I've used to weld onto another support bracket I'll go over in a minute, and the existing structure I've already got in the car. The centre part here I've used to support the floor so the floor doesn't move when the bulkhead's taken off. So rather than weld to the new floor, what I've done is I've put a bar underneath here, and I've put a bolt here and a bolt here. I've then welded to this upright that goes up here, and it's welded to a cross section here and to this bar here. It basically gives these down bars more support and it holds this all firmly in place. Moving further up, I've got another support bar here that joins on to each of these and here. Then at the back I've got some tack welds in place up here on both sides, and again it all just gives it extra strength. Up the top, this bar and this bar was always in place, this one because of the jig and this one just to give the shell some extra strength. What I've done is I've put a bar in between to give them strength, because now this one's detached from the jig at the front. And what I've done is welded that onto the bottom dash rail, welded this onto the top dash rail, so that it basically keeps the space in between the dash rails and holds all that in place. The bar that comes through here is not attached to anything, however it does sit flush with the bottom of the hole for the wiring loom. So again, that's another point that I know lines up and should line up there. And that's pretty much all the jig side that I'm happy with. I'm now going to focus on the bulkhead and what I need to replace either on the bulkhead or the joining panels. Some I know, some I don't until I dig a bit deeper. So I'll end that one there and I'll say thanks for watching, take care, and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers!